But what you don't realize is what happens when you don't call that person back. That person has a negative view of your company, and they're going to tell the world. So the whole saying of like super happy customers tell one person, miserable customers tell the world, it's true.
Welcome to Jobbers Masters of Home Service, a podcast for home service pros by home service pros. We're in Las Vegas, and today we're talking about how to grow in a downward economy. As always, I'm your host, Adam Sylvester. Today's guest is Paul Maskell. Paul, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, Adam. Excited to be here.
Me too. Okay, so tell our listeners who you are, what you do, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Paul Maskell. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I offer outsourced CFO services to specifically companies in the trades. If you don't know what that means, basically I help them create consistent positive cash flow, keep them on track financially so they can achieve their goals.
Okay. And what was your background?
Yeah, so my background is interesting. So I spent the last 7 years in the trades. Most recently, I owned an electrical company for the last 3 years. Exited that earlier in the year. And then before all this, back in 2007, I actually got a finance degree, moved to Chicago, and thought I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. And then came 2008. I watched all sorts of people who believed and thought and were ingrained that getting a nice, cushy job in the city, working for a big company is the best thing to do. You get the benefits, you get the 401k, you get the PTO. And then I watched all those people get wiped out. They got completely laid off. Their whole life was built on this one job. And to me, I realized this isn't as safe as everybody says it is. So long story short, I quit my job in 2010, moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. And since then I've been owning and scaling and selling local businesses.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's get into it. So talking about not just, survive, but how to grow and thrive in a downward economy. We're in that right now, so to speak, in some ways. And so let's talk about it. Our listeners are wondering the same things. What's the most important things our listeners should do to be able to grow in this downward economy?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a lot of it's mindset too. And I think if we look at in the history of time, the most wealth has always been built in downward economies because people that are in a position to take advantage of that downward economy, i.e. they usually have some sort of cash, they can then really start to grow. So when it comes to owning a home service business, it is no different. And if you look at who your ideal customer is, and I use this analogy a lot, there's speed, quality, and price. You can pick two of those to compete on, or as a consumer, you can pick two of those that you want, but you can't have all three. You can't have the best thing super quick and super cheap. So if we can serve people that don't really care about price, but they care about quality and speed, those people value their time. They value things getting done really well, and they don't really care what the price is. And those people also don't get affected in the downward economy. So I think from just like an overall mindset, if we can start to really believe in what we provide and go after the people that aren't looking for the cheapest thing. If you're running the race of, I just want to be cheaper than everybody else, unfortunately, that's a race. Once you win it, you've actually lost because you're out of business.
Yeah. I like your point about mindset too, because I think we all know people who are negative about this kind of stuff, things that are out of their control, and it just doesn't really help. And so I think for our listeners, if you're that person listening and all you do is talk about how bad the economy is in your area and this and that, that's just not a way to get ahead. That's not the way, that's not the mindset of someone who's going to thrive when it's hard. You have to have like a tough mindset, right?
You do. And I think you really have to see the value in the services you provide. I've been around tradespeople my whole life. My dad actually worked in the trades. He owned his own hardwood floor company. He was a one-man band. Everybody he worked around, the plumbers, the electricians, HVAC guys, they were all one-man bands. And they all said like, dude, don't get into the trades. Don't do this. But there's such like a blue collar mentality of like, I'm just really good at this. It takes me 5 minutes. I don't think I should be able to charge X.
Right.
But the reason it takes them so quickly and they're so skilled is because they've been doing it a really long time. So a lot of times people in the trades really devalue the ability and skill they have. Like the average age of people in the trades is almost 60 years old. So like I tell everybody, like when you look at, and if you look at skilled trades, there's more doctors in this country than electricians. There are more doctors in this country than plumbers. There are more doctors in this country than HVAC technicians. So you are really valuable. We can't outsource what you do. And if that's what you're doing, you need to charge accordingly because it's simply supply and demand.
Yeah. I think about the pricing thing when you said earlier is like I had an electrician come to my house and I could not fix the ceiling fan. I thought I could, and I pulled it apart, and it was a variable speed, so there were 9 wires instead of 3. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this myself. And the reason I tell that story is because he charged me, I think, $249 for a very, very quick job. And some of my technicians, I told them that story, and they're like, $249? How long were they there? I said, that doesn't matter how long they were there. They solved my problem. And I was happy to pay $240. I didn't want him to be there all 8 hours. I want him to be fast. I want him to be out of the, and so we're paying people for their experience, the years and years of training they've had to do these jobs fast, to have an organized van, to be able to find the things quick. You're not just charging your clients for their time.
Yeah, and if you look at the opportunity cost of you as the homeowner, how long would it take you to solve that simple problem? Forever. You're going to watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos, you're going to hook stuff up. Most likely what's then eventually going to happen is you're going to waste all that time, then you're going to call somebody anyway. Mm-hmm. So not only does it take that technician 5-10 minutes, but it also would have taken you 10 hours, and those 10 hours to the homeowner, to the customer, they can go do a lot more than that. Even if they're in a job making $20 an hour. Yeah. That's still, that's $200 that, hey, cool, I went and worked 10 hours, you fixed my ceiling fan, we broke even.
Bingo. So let's talk about leads, because I think a lot of our listeners are getting fewer leads than they got last year this time on average. And so how do you get the most out of your leads? How do you squeeze the most juice out of them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So if we look at coming out of COVID, there was leads for everybody and then some. Yeah. And we got really complacent of I don't need to call that person back right away. Or they fill out a web form and all they want is one cut. They just want their grass cut once.
We started choosing the perfect leads. We did. Right? We had perfect leads we could choose from.
We were in this great position. Well, we thought it was a great position of I can be picky and I don't need to call that person back. But what you don't realize is what happens when you don't call that person back. That person has a negative view of your company. And they're going to tell the world. So the whole saying of super happy customers tell one person, miserable customers tell the world. It's true. Right. if you think about it, that's really true. I don't just go rave about the guy that cut my grass unless he blew me away. But if he didn't show up or didn't call back, I'm if you're looking for someone to cut your grass, I don't know who to choose, but don't choose this guy. So when we need to be, a lot more grateful for every opportunity that comes our way. And we as homeowners also know how frustrating it is I just need someone to come out to wash my house. And we call 3 different companies and they say they're going to call back, or we fill out the web form. It just goes into this black hole where all web forms go. If we can start to treat our customers the way we would want to be treated as a customer, it's going to be a lot easier to start to build even this goes into even further conversations. You're building the value before this person even knows your pricing. And if you can continue to do that, wow, you answered the phone right away. Wow, you showed up when you said you're going to show up. Wow, I got a confirmation text. Oh my goodness, you're doing exactly what you said you're going to do. When you start doing all those things, the value of that lead increases significantly because they're going to be customers for life. They're going to start talking to you about, everybody else as well. So we can't be picky anymore. We also have to understand that everybody's calling your company because they have a problem and they want it solved. They're not just man, I would just love to get a quote to replace my roof just for fun. Nobody's going to do that. Where a lot of times we get in the mindset as, home service business owners is, well, they're just price shopping. No one's going to waste their time to price shop. People price shop by Googling how much, and they're going to read articles on Angie, or they're going to read articles on Google of how much is it to wash my house? Well, a 2,000 square foot house should on average be $200 and $600 or whatever it is. So when we can really understand, if everybody is reaching out to us because they have a problem and they want it solved, and ideally they want you to solve it.
Yeah. And I think that leads are, when people call us, they want it to be done faster than they did during the COVID times. I think we were okay telling people, yeah, I'll be there in 3 weeks. And people would wait, surprisingly. But that's not normal. The normal time is we can be there tomorrow. Because with restaurants, for example, if you go to a restaurant and there's a line out the door, it's a good restaurant. But service companies are the opposite. People don't think long lines and wait times are a trophy. They think it's a pain. And they don't want to wait. They want you to come fast. And so if you can streamline your operations a little better, at least your sales process, to get to people faster, that really, really matters when you're trying to squeeze every drop juice out of the lead.
Yeah. And it's really an instant gratification world, Adam. So if you think of when Amazon started, people thought it was insane that they could ship you a book in a week. And now people are furious if they don't get their toilet paper in 4 hours, right? Right. Because whatever you want it now. That's the world we're in. And going back to that speed, quality, and price, if they get it now and they get it really well, they will pay a premium for that. Unfortunately, when we don't charge a premium for that, then that line does go out the door because like, I'm not going to wait 3 weeks to have someone come, edge my lawn or, wash my house. It's like, I called you because I have this problem and it's a problem now. And I'm not willing to wait 3 weeks. The only people that are willing to wait a really long time are the people that are willing to pay a really low dollar amount for, good quality, like the one-man band. Hey man, Mike is great. Mike is the best power washer guy in the neighborhood. He's booked out a month because it's just Mike. Yeah. He's booked out a month because he's not charging accordingly. So everyone's like, some people will wait for that, but the majority, they want it now. They want it done quickly. And that goes with everything. You need to answer the phone right away. You need to fill out the forms right away. When you text them, say you're on your way, you actually need to show up when you say you're showed up. And then when you're done, they expect you to follow up. And when you follow up, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like this company, they must wash my house well because they did everything else well.
Yeah. And with leads, our listeners might need to try some new things. They might need to extend their hours open from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. to try to collect a few more and have someone cover the phones. They might need to, for a long time, we could just bid things over the phone and just throw out these big numbers. And if they said yes, then we'd be happy. But if they just said no, then I'll go on to the next lead. But now we might need to actually go to more people's homes and do more in-person presentations and instead of just all this willy-nilly over the phone stuff.
Yeah. And there's so many, technologies amazing. You can have AI answer your phone now. Like if you're afraid of AI, you don't want it, there's call centers that'll answer your phone from 4 to 7, 4 to 8. Mm-hmm. There's people that'll answer your phone on the weekends. And the best thing is it's a fractional world. I do fractional work. You don't need to hire a full-time CSR to answer the phone. You could say, hey, you only answer it when it rings and it's a company that does it. They got your script. They get you booked. They know how to use Jobber. They have all these things in place where you're capturing more leads. And I think where a lot of businesses say they do all that right, where a lot of them kind of struggle is don't forget about that person 6 or 12 months from now. Whatever service you're doing, you probably recommend them to do it regularly. We're always chasing the next lead and we forget about the couple thousand that we work so hard to get. So even like looking at the next level of like reminding them, hey, springtime's coming, pollen season is here. Mm-hmm. Let's get ahead of it. They're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for reminding me. Versus us waiting for the phone to ring or waiting for the door hangers, phone to ring and stuff like that.
Paul, I want to pause our conversation for a minute to talk about Jobber. And why is it important for our listeners to invest in a software like Jobber, even in economic downturns? Why is it important for them?
Yeah, Adam, I'd say it's even more important than when it's not, because when everyone's busy, the customers don't really care that they're not using software, that they're writing their own ticket by hand. But now when you're getting a little bit more competitive, you need something to stand out. And in order to stand out, when you have something like Jobber, it's going to make the customer experience a lot better. So in the end, yes, you're spending a little bit of money, but the return on that money is going to be significant compared to what your customers are going to have to deal with if you have Google Calendar or a hand calendar, or you tell your customer, let me call you back because I got to go figure that out.
Yeah, that's well said. Jobber just makes you stand out so well. It makes you look so smooth and sleek. And so I totally agree with that. You need Jobber too. If you're not using Jobber, then you're just not impressing your clients as much as you can. So go to jobber.com/podcastdeal, get an exclusive discount for new users and start wowing your clients today. So thriving in a downward economy, let's talk about booking rate. How can our listeners improve their booking rate during this time?
Yeah, I think, there's a good couple things you can do. One, you answer the phone every time. So if you can't answer the phone or whoever's answering the phone, if they can't answer it every time, have a backup system in place, have a call center in place, have AI in place, have something in place where those people that are calling know that you exist. Because if they call and leave a voicemail, the next thing they're doing is calling the next company. And by the time you return that voicemail, they're like, sorry, Adam, I already found somebody else. Mm-hmm. Same thing with your web form. There's enough automations out there. If they fill out a web form, if you can send them a text, and you don't have to do this manually, it's automated, a text or an email right away, they're like, okay, these guys are going to call me within the next, have that text say, if this is during business hours or if it's between 9 and 9, we're going to call you in the next 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Now we're setting the expectation. The most amazing thing in this world is people are blown away when you tell them what you're going to do and you do it.
Like keep your promise.
Like, oh my gosh, you said you're going to call in 30 minutes and you did. I love you, right? Like we're just setting those expectations. So when we can have a higher, like we're already fighting for the leads. And if we're not booking as many as we can, we're just throwing money out the window. And I think, one other thing to kind of focus on is whoever's answering the phone, they need to have a script. They need to know what success looks like. They need to know this is how we operate. These are our values. And this is the questions we ask. Because a lot of times if people say, hey, how much is it to wash my house? They'll be like, anywhere between $200 and $600. Okay, adios. Whereas if they have a script where they can start answering questions, hey, let's get you booked. We're not in 2020 anymore, where we really don't want to, we don't want to deal with that person asking for a price of the phone. But now let's retrain it. Let's have a script in place where, how do we handle that? How do we handle people asking for prices? How much is it to cut my lawn? We're not just going to say, I don't know. And we're also not just going to give them a range. We're going to have we're going to have follow-up answers and questions to get more leads booked. So we have, we're lowering our cost per lead and we're increasing our revenue.
Yeah. You got to peel back the onion on the phone. You got to really find out why they called in the first place.
Yeah. And customers love that. They're like, wow, these people are actually genuinely interested. How long have you lived in the home? What type of work are you looking to get done? All these questions. And then you set the expectations. Here's what to expect next, Adam. On the day of your appointment or the day before, we're going to give you a call. On the day of, you're going to get a text message. When we arrive, we're going to park in the street. We're going to wear shoe covers. Whatever it is, you're setting all these expectations, and then you do it and they trust you.
Yeah. When you ask them, like, well, how did you hear about us? Oh, well, we saw you online. Okay, great. What'd you see online? Well, some reviews. Oh, is that important to you? Yeah, we really want, we got screwed by the last guy and we don't want that type of, oh, what happened? And then suddenly, you know everything about them. You know exactly what their pain points are. You know exactly why they called you, what their timeframes are, if their deadline, if their daughter's getting married this weekend, they're having a big party this Friday night, it's got to be cut by Thursday. You have to know all that stuff. And those are things that we just really took for granted a couple of years ago that we really need to drill down. Because the better we understand the client, then the better we understand their pain. And the better we understand the pain, the better we can solve their problem and do it in the way that they like. And it really matters.
Yeah. I mean, that's like sales 101. And when you do that, it doesn't feel like sales at all because those customers are thrilled. And then when your technician shows up and they have all that in the notes, like, hey, Adam, I heard you're kind of in a bind, but we're going to get you taken care of. I know you got the big party this weekend for your daughter, da-da-da-da.
Right.
They're like, wow, these guys actually care.
Is there anything else we need to know? Well, as a matter of fact, we're having a party tonight. Can we do it today? It's like, okay, I'm glad I asked. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And that really goes to getting more out of a lead is now your average ticket's probably going up because then you're recommending them things that they might not thought about.
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of clients, when they have this, they also get this done. Is that something you're interested in? Oh yeah, I never even thought about that. I've been so focused on the yard, but yeah, we definitely need that done as well.
So average ticket's really important. Let's talk about average ticket because average ticket is just average job size. How much is your average job?
Right.
Price tag. Some businesses, it might be like $600. Some it might be $2,500. But how do you get that up? Because a lot of times people call for the cheapest service you provide, but then it's your job to make sure that they end up going with the most expensive service that you provide most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, and the goal is to, equate it to going to a doctor. If you go to the doctor and you say, my knee hurts, they're still going to take your vitals. They're still going to ask you, do you drink and smoke? They're still going to ask you all these questions, even though you're like, can you just fix my knee? Mm-hmm. And we need to treat our customers and the problem they called for the same way. Are you experiencing anything else? I know that you had this issue, but have you seen anything else recently? We start asking these questions. And now you're the solution to those questions. Like, oh my gosh, yes, thank you so much. The other thing that does is it allows you to be the expert to present solutions. So that way, when you leave there, they at least know what other options are, what other problems they have with their home. Because if you don't bring those up, you don't ask those questions. If I went to the doctor and they didn't take my pulse, they didn't ask me any of those questions, they didn't take my temperature, and I go have a heart attack, and they're like, well, he just came in for his knee. I didn't need to check his heart, right? Home service is the same thing. Like we're going in and we're experts in whatever trade it is. And it's our job to be those experts. So yeah, so getting that average ticket up, it's, in my opinion, the more the customer spends, it's just as simply a measurable of how well you serve them.
I think people call us with tunnel vision. Their gutter's leaking. And so they call, my gutter's leaking. How fast can you come fix it? Sure, we can definitely fix your leak. No problem. Dripping gutters is terrible. It's annoying. It's so much louder at nighttime. It's annoying. It keeps you awake. When we get there though, and we talk to the client, what else? And it's your job to expand their tunnel vision because all they've been thinking about is that drip. Even though last week they forgot that a tree branch fell on their gutter in the back and smashed it. Got to get that fixed. But they weren't thinking about that. I had this happen one time. I had to get my HVAC fixed or something. And the guy walked me through these questions. And I was like, as a matter of fact, yeah, the thermostat's broken. And as a matter of fact, yeah, I do want to rewire this thing. And he came up with like 4 or 5 things that I had pushed aside for months in the back of my mind. But it took a lot of questions to plumb that out of me. And I was like, wow, it's funny. If you'd asked me, hey, Adam, what's wrong with your HVAC? I probably would have been able to regurgitate 3 or 4 things. But in the moment, on the spot, I didn't think about that kind of stuff. And our clients were the same way. And so when you start asking them questions about, what about this, what about that? They're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And that's your job as the doctor to diagnose not just a knee problem.
Yeah, and I think that going back to like the original question of how do we get that average ticket up, it's exactly that. We need to have a sales process. We need to take advantage of every touch point leading up to that price presentation. From the time they called to the time you showed up, to the questions you asked, to how you acted in the home, to all the respect you gave them. We need to have a process to follow. And then we need to have something to hold the technicians accountable, whoever's doing the sales, depending on your industry. We need to have ride-alongs. We need them to know what does success look like. And when we don't get that, what do we need to work on in order to get there? So when we can have that sales process people hate the word sales. Everyone listening to this probably started their business as the founder technician. They're turning the wrench. I don't sell anything. I just solve problems. I equate it back to that doctor. If you're an HVAC technician and they say, well, just take a look at the thermostat. It's the only thing not working. Okay, cool. Go fix the thermostat. $79, $100, whatever it is. Adios. If that person's air goes out the next day and it's 100 degrees, they're going to be really mad at the HVAC tech. Mm-hmm. You were here. How did you not catch that? Well, you didn't tell me to look at it. It's not the customer's job to drive that conversation. It's the expert's job, just like the doctor, of, hey, how long do you plan to live in here? How old is the system? Have you had any issues when it gets really hot? Asking all those questions. Oh, and while I'm here, I'll do a safety check just to make sure, give you the peace of mind and give me the peace of mind. Because when I leave here, I'm the last HVAC technician in your home. And I want you and me to be confident and comfortable that this thing's going to run all summer. So it's not sales, it's simply solving problems, but we need a process to follow so we can practice it and we can get better.
Yeah, I love that. Because when you take your car into the mechanic and you need oil change and they say, well, your battery's 4.5 years old, should we replace it? Yeah, I mean, I don't want to die tomorrow. Sure, let's replace it now. Go ahead. Okay, great. Well, the back tire is bald. Do you want to replace that? I mean, it does pass inspection, but just barely. Yeah, let's replace it. Okay, well, usually when you replace one, you replace the other one. Should we do the other one too? Yeah, let's do the other one too. Okay, should we do all four? Yeah, let's just do them all. And suddenly it was a $19 oil change, and now it's a $1,000. But that's a good thing. We want our car to be in good shape. We want our wives to be driving safe vans, right? If the battery dies tomorrow because the guy didn't mention it, we're mad at the mechanic. We're mad at him.
We are. And I think, and for the mechanic, they're just doing their job. If they say, no, I'm good,
right. If you say no, it's fine.
At least we informed them. We educated them. If it dies tomorrow, they're like, man, I really should have should have listened to the mechanic. Because like those batteries, like the day it hits whatever the warranty is, it's like those things die right away. It's like magic how those dates work. But that's really the job of any expert in any industry. Like if you go to a restaurant, really good waiters, they recommend things. Hey, what are you here for? Hey, I know you ordered that. That takes a really long time. My personal recommendation would be just check out the appetizers. I really like, whatever it is, that type of dip, because you ordered that dish and it takes about an hour. So I don't want you guys to be starving. Oh, cool. Great idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Done. So it's just making recommendations. Where people go a little bit sideways is we've all had bad experiences in the mechanic shop where they don't have like evidence to back it up. Hey, you need this fluid, this. Well, how do we don't know that and we're not experts. And same thing for home service. Like if you can show them, you can take pictures and say, hey, this is what a good one looks like. This is what yours looks like. You probably got 6 months left on this, but if you want to take care of it while I'm here, I would definitely recommend that so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I love that. Paul, so we've talked about a lot of different metrics here. I want to clarify booking rate. What our listeners who don't really know what a healthy booking rate is, like what is a healthy booking rate? Is it 10%, 90%? Like what is it?
Yeah, I mean, 90% would be ideal. I say like for most of my clients, we look around 85%. And me even just being a fractional CFO, why I look at that is because that's the first touch point of possible revenue coming in the door. So 85% is great. For those of you that don't understand what booking rate is, basically how many leads, so how many phone calls, web forms, text messages, came into your company, and then how many actually got booked. So
booked for work or an assessment?
Just booked for an estimate. Just the opportunity to knock on the door and have that conversation.
Got it. Okay. So for our listeners who are doing higher volume stuff like lawn care, you're not going to go out to every single person's house for like a $50 lawn cut, right? So you're going to quote that over the phone. Would that be, if you book that job for the recurring mowing, that's booking?
Yeah. I mean, really, in my opinion, if you're quoting over the phone, that's kind of a tricky one because you're really not booking anything unless they buy, but there is that step before they buy. So if you wanted to just simplify it, I'd say if they called and you sent them a quote, that thing was booked, even if they don't say yes. Now, going back to the sales process for a quick 30 seconds, if you're just giving prices over the phone, it's going to be tough to do, but you can have a over the phone sales process. You can, pull up their house on GIS and measure it and do all that. you could still close that over the phone.
Yeah, because some of our listeners are getting 50 calls a day,
Right.
For that kind of stuff. But so booking rate, and so you're saying like 85% is a pretty good number
For sure.
okay, awesome.
Yeah, and most companies that I see that I work with, a lot of them don't track it. The ones that do, they're 65 to 70% because it goes back to, well, during COVID, that was fine. Like, we don't need to book everybody.
Right.
But then 6 months later, they're like, man, where'd all the money go?
Yeah. And that leftover 15% or so are people who are outside of our service radius, just simply said no, calling for the wrong service, right? And
yeah, I mean, if you can't physically serve them, like they're out of your booking, out of your service area, I wouldn't even call that as a lead. They called the wrong Cary. They wanted Cary, Illinois, and they called Cary, North Carolina, or something like that.
Okay.
But if you could serve them, then yes, that is a potential lead where it goes to your booking rate. A lot of times people aren't booking because maybe they're not ready. You might have a good process of like, hey, we're not going to come out and quote your house until you own it. Because because you get all those, I'm just thinking about buying it.
Buy this house.
We're about to buy it. And they really just want that quote so they can go back to the seller and use that as leverage. They have zero interest in using you. But then again, going back to that, hey, once you close on the house, when are you going to close? Oh, July 15th. Cool. I'll give you a call on July 15th and we can come out.
Great. How do we give our clients a world-class customer experience?
Yeah. So there's a couple of good books, Adam, that I love for any business, especially in the trades, because not a lot of companies do this. So there's a book by Joey Coleman called How to Never Lose a Customer. And it's really about taking advantage of every single touch point that you have with your customer and just making it an out of the world experience from the time they call to after. So a lot of times we do okay in a lot of things, but we're not great at a lot. Where we usually really fail is once they say yes. Once someone says yes, it's like, job's done, on to the next one.
Right.
Whereas once they say yes, if you don't do something right away, buyer's remorse starts to set in. It's like when if we buy a car and we don't get to drive it home right away, you're sitting there that night, like, I don't know, did I make a mistake? Can I afford that payment? Do I really need that car? Same thing goes with the trades. If they're like, yep, we just agreed $50,000 to replace all our windows. Cool, awesome. And then we'll see you in 6 weeks or 3 months. Adios. If they don't hear from you anytime in between there, the first thing they're going to do is like, is that the right price?
What was I thinking?
Should I get other quotes? So How to Never Lose a Customer is great. And then Giftology by John Ruhlin is another great book, great strategy to really look at how do you spend your marketing dollars. So a lot of times we're always looking to buy leads, but if we can use Giftology to turn our customers into our salespeople, it's going to lower our costs. So the basic 30-second rundown of Giftology is send them something that's not consumable. So it's not a gift card. It's not food. It's not wine. Something that they'll use every time. So it doesn't have your logo on it. It has something personalized to them that they're actually going to use. So if you go into someone's house and you realize they're a Green Bay Packers fan and you do business with them after, you're going to send them a Green Bay Packers jersey with their last name on it. Or you're going to send them a Green Bay Packers mug and just saying, Adam, thank you so much for choosing us. We have a lot of options. Super grateful for the opportunity. Every time they use that mug, they're going to be like, I remember that guy that cut my grass or that did my landscaping or whatever it might be.
I love that. Okay, Paul, I want to talk about acquiring other businesses because this is in your wheelhouse. And it's common, when the economy takes a turn, the small guys tend to hurt the most because they're cash low. And so what are some steps on potentially acquiring a small business in this process?
Yeah, so I see this a lot, Adam, and a lot of times it's one of two people. One, it might be the guy that just started out 6 months ago. He's in over his head, and he's like, you know what? Economy's getting tough. I think I need that guaranteed paycheck. I need that benefits, make my wife kind of sleep better at night. I'm going to go back to where I came from. Or it's the baby boomer who's like, this is it. This gives me a good reason to stop. I'm just sick and tired of dealing with this. Phone's not ringing, and I rather just play golf. So when you're looking to acquire a really, really micro business, where I see a lot of people go wrong is they give that person a lot of money up front. And what you're really buying is just a phone number. They don't have systems and processes. They don't have a team. They don't really have a lot of things that are valuable other than their phone number. So a really good strategy that I see implemented a lot is, Adam, I'm going to buy your phone number. And for the next 12 months, every time one of your customers calls and we book them and they do work with us, we're going to give you X percentage of that ticket for the next 12 months. So that way it puts some skin in the game for the person who's selling it of they're going to go reach out to all their customers and say, hey, Adam's great, still do business with him. He's taken over and love his team, da, 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 da. And then it also allows you to be in a cash position where that person was just going to close up the door anyway. So they're getting a little bit of money, but you're not outlaying a lot of cash and you're only putting out cash when cash comes back in.
Paul, this is great. I'm going to break our conversation down to 3 actionable items here. Number 1 is you need to call every lead back, even the ones that you know are a no. They asked for the wrong service or something. You're just building goodwill in your community. You need to make sure that you call every lead back, and hopefully they might call you another time when they actually need to use your service. Number 2 is you should extend the time that you're on the phones longer. So instead of 8 to 5, you might want to make it 7 to 7. You can do that a lot of different ways. One way is Jobber's AI receptionist to cover your phones longer to capture more leads. Number 3 is ask questions to increase your average job size. We've talked about the mechanic example, and we've talked about other examples. You want to make sure that you're asking questions to increase the services you provide your clients, because it's better for them and it's better for you. Paul, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate the opportunity.
That was great. How do people find out more about you?
Yeah, so if they want to learn more, reach out to me. Just go to thebluecollaradvisors.com. Go there. You can schedule a call. You can download a free pricing calculator and reach out to me via email.
Bingo. Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for listening. I hope that you heard something today that will help you get through the economic downturn and get more out of your leads. I'm your host, Adam Sylvester. You can find me at adamsylvester.com. Your team and your clients deserve your very best, so go give it to them.